Ajusta Tu Corona was a dream of mine since I was very young. I didn't bring it to fruition until I was much older. And basically what it is we all have a story to tell. And a lot of people were not aware of my story, of their stories, and they were a little bit shocked to find out what our humble beginnings were and how we became so successful. So never underestimate the power of your story. It is inspirational, it is motivational, it can save someone's life. My message to all the women out there, to everyone out there who may be facing adversity, never forget how amazing you are. Never forget how exceptional you are. Ajusta tu corona and keep it moving.
Good evening, queens and kings. Welcome to Conversations with Ajusta Tu Corona, which translates to Adjust Your Crown. Thank you for joining me this evening as I discuss what to and not to say and why. Please, if you consider this program of value, share, like, and subscribe this podcast so we may continue to grow our audience. So tonight, I am going to talk to you about relationships. Not that I am an expert. As always, I am sharing my personal experiences and some of the experiences I have gone through in my coaching. So someone said to me that they didn't understand why abused people didn't just leave. And she had a friend that she had said, "Why do you stay with him?" Or "Why don't you leave?" Wrong. Those are the wrong things to say. When you say things like that to them, you're forcing them to push you away. And they remember, as victims, we know what's happening to us. We are ashamed because we can't find our way out of it. So these are just some pointers that I want to give you on how to speak to someone that may be suffering from abuse. So I would start off with saying, if you ever need to talk about it, I'm here. They may brush you off and say, "I don't know what you're talking about." Or you just gave them that glimmer of hope that there's someone that they can talk to. Go on by saying, "I know relationships are complicated and I'm not judging you." That is so important. The fact that I thought that people were judging me and I was already feeling ashamed just weighed heavily on me. And another thing is, remember, these people are challenged right now. They're in a very difficult situation. So they practically do not know their value. They have no self-love. They have low self-esteem. So you want to say to them, "I just want you to know that you deserve to be treated well." I used to say, "Why don't you feel that you deserve any better?" And putting that why in front of it just formed the question in a different way. It didn't make them feel I was questioning them to something that they probably didn't have an answer to. But if I just reworded it a little bit and say, "I just want you to know that you deserve to be treated well," you may have planted that seed that will start to grow. And of course, because you don't know what this person is going through and you truly care about them, this could be a family member, this can be a friend, you want to say to them, "Can we come up with a plan if things get worse? I want to make sure you're able to keep yourself safe." And you definitely want to approach them with that if they have kids. You want to ask them why. Like, not why, but can we make a plan? That way she knows that should things turn. She has someone that she can go to. Most importantly, when you're talking to them, listen without judgment and criticism. It's so hard, especially if they've been in the relationship for a long time, because you know that they're getting abused on a daily basis. And in your mind, you can't comprehend. But remember, it is not your mind that we're dealing with. It is the victim that we are trying to save. So don't make it personal and about you that you don't understand. It's not your place to understand. It's your place to listen and not provide criticism. Remember that as hard as this is, you may not be able to rescue them, and it has to be their choice. When they do open up to you, no judgment, no criticism. You say, thanks for sharing this with me. I know it's probably hard to talk about. Or if you feel that they are beyond your help, or they don't want to go to a shelter, or there isn't a coach that can assist them, you definitely want to seek professional help. So you say to them, can I find a therapist for you? And most importantly, at the end of all of this, you say, I'm here for you. You're not alone. And I cannot stress enough. I've had a show before where I talked about don't give up hope on them. It's exhausting. It's draining. But if you truly care for this person, do not give up on them, because the minute that you give up on them, they give up on themselves and a tragedy may happen. No matter how many times you speak to them, you want to make sure that they know that you are always there for them. And as I stated, don't say to them, well, why do you stay? That is like not a good question to ask. And I'm going to tell you why. And don't say to them, why don't you just leave? Because I believe in my heart that these victims of domestic violence do not want to be a punching bag for anybody. But they don't know how to leave. And why don't they know how to leave? Probably because they are suffering from trauma bond. What's trauma bond? It's a relationship that people form with their abusers. And I'm going to give you a little snippet, an example of it. So remember, we focus on the good qualities our abuser had when we met them. How loving they were, how they gave us flowers, how beautiful they were when we were dating them. So that's what we focus on. So we know their good qualities, and that's what we focus on. So that care that they provide us with, that loving care that they provide us with, and that connection that they provide us with is sort of like a form of, I want to say, the hormonal and emotional drug, oxytocin, I want to say it's called. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's that feel-good emotion that you get. And I recently saw a show where they were selling pills that gave you this happy, euphoric emotion that you get when you're happy all the time. So you see that the person is on edge. They go into the abuse. And then there's the honeymoon stage where they're trying to make up for what they did. And then there's that small, tiny window of peace and that love that you feel. So when they're making it up to you, and when they're feeling, and when you're feeling that peace, that is what you are bonded to. So it's like a roller coaster ride of your emotions, of getting abused, going downhill, and then the honeymoon stage, and the love going back uphill. So when all of this is going on, you're just getting more bonded to your abuser. And this is why it's hard for people to leave their abusers. I'm not sure if I'm still broadcasting because I have this little message that says that my signal is weak. So if anyone's out there watching, send me a message and let me know if I'm still on the air. Oh, I'm on the air. Hello, Richard. So this good behavior that fosters our attachment to the abuser makes getting away from an abusive partner feel so painful and difficult. So these bonds, as I say, originate from since we were infants, when we learned to be dependent on someone else for survival. The human being, our parents, our caregivers. So all this bonding occurs, and that caretaking that we receive is oxytocin. That's what it's called. So this is a reason why I have someone that told me that they didn't feel loved if they weren't in an abusive relationship. If they weren't getting abused, they felt like the person didn't care about them. So this is how deep this trauma bond goes. I want to read some signs of trauma bond or some symptoms. And then you tell me if you think you may be in trauma bond, if you know someone that's in a trauma bond. A lot of the women that I work with that say that they have been abused, when they come to coaching, they say, oh, my partner is wonderful 90% of the time. It's just that 10% where we have the issue, the 10% being the abuse. So they think that being abused is only 10% of their relationship when it should be none. It should be none. And we can't persist in trying to convince people that there's a problem when they won't listen. They may need to find therapy and assistance for this. So I'm going to go through this list, and you can either find a coach who will assist you or find a therapist that will assist you. Most importantly, I was being interviewed last night, and one of the things that I say to everybody is find yourself a tribe. Find a group of friends, find someone that you can go to, find someone that you can talk to. If you feel that something is not right, you are probably right. So here's my list. Obsessing about people who have hurt you, though they are long gone. Okay, you abuse me, you're gone. I shouldn't care what you're doing, what's going on in your life, nothing. I know it's hard if you have children, very hard, but please, you may need to find someone that will drop off your kids to them and bring your kids back, because you need to start to heal. Continuing to seek contact with people whom you know will cause you further pain. Why? Why are we glutton for punishments? Why do we continue to go back to the people that have caused us pain? Going overboard to help people who have been destructive to you. So guilty of that. Many, 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 many years ago. Going overboard to help people who have been destructive to you. I cannot say that enough. That was me many years ago, as I stated before. And it wasn't until I seek therapy that I realized what I was doing. Continuing to be a team member when obviously things are becoming destructive. Listen, a relationship is 100%, you come together and you flourish together. It is not 50-50 because you need to both be at 100% before you get together. Otherwise, it's just going to crumble. Do not be a team member if the other one is being destructive. No, there is no team like that. Continuing attempts to get people to like you, though they are clearly using you. Come on. This is perhaps something that we desired when we were a lot younger. But we need to teach our kids from young that this is a very unhealthy behavior. And we as adults should realize that this is an unhealthy behavior. The only person that you need to care about, that you need to love beyond anything, is yourself. Because when you are at that point, then you can provide your children the love that they need, the education that they need, and never mind about outsourcing, like people on the outside. Trusting people again and again who have proven to be unreliable. Why? Why? This is an example because I am a woman. So of course I'm going to use this example, but it works vice versa. Why do you continue to trust the child's father when he says, I'll pick him up, and he already hasn't picked them up 3 times? Or why do you continue to trust that person that says, I'm not going to hit you anymore, and has beaten your butt in the last week 3 times? Trusting people again and again who have proven to be unreliable is a big no. Being unable to retreat from unhealthy relationships. This is a hard one for not only victims of abuse, but also divorcees, people with children. We know that they are unhealthy for us, but we make excuses by saying, well, that's the father of my child. And as long as you have that communication with them, you're not going to be able to retreat from an unhealthy relationship. And even when you're working through your problems with someone, you're wanting to be understood by those who clearly do not care. Because if they cared, they wouldn't be treating you the way that they are at the moment. Are you choosing to stay in conflict with others, though it would cost you nothing to walk away? You want to stay there and you want to fight and you want to get the abuse and you want to let them continue to argue. And this is not while you're actually in relationships. This is the trauma bond that I'm talking about. Is you've left the relationship. Yeah, you tend to always go back and want to talk to them and want to play nice. And you choose to stay in that conflict with others, though it would cost you nothing to walk away. Do you persist in trying to convince people there is a problem and they won't listen? What is it going to take? I'll tell you what it's going to take. Therapy. Because trauma bond is so deep, ingrained so deeply in you, that just talking about it is not enough. You need to seek professional help. You need to seek a therapist who will help you with these problems. You want to remain loyal to the people who have betrayed you? Why? Guilty of that as well. A lot of these symptoms will fit in any situation. They may fit in infidelity. They may fit in domestic violence. They may fit in family violence. I coach a lot of people. But as I stated, these trauma bonds run deep. They can last for about 5.5 years. And if you don't seek therapy, they'll sit there and simmer longer. And if you don't heal when you're ready to start dating again, you're going to have issues. You want to remain loyal to the people who have betrayed you? Do they deserve that? You seem to be attracted to untrustworthy people. This is something that continues to happen today for a lot of people. And then you say, and some of my women say, why do I continue to attract losers? Maybe you're attracting them and don't even realize it. Being forced to keep damaging secrets about exploitation or abuse. They're telling you, don't say anything. Or you feel the need not to share that deep, dark secret because you don't want the family to find out. You don't want the children to find out. Or you've been threatened to keep that damaging secret about exploitation or abuse. And you keep it. It's a trauma bond. It's a trauma bond. Maintaining contact with an abuser acknowledges no responsibility. Unfortunately, transforming a trauma bond into a healthy attachment rarely happens. Although it is possible to stop one from starting. What do you need to do to break a trauma bond? Break all contact. You cannot worry about what the other person is doing, remember, you were the victim. So why put more stress on yourself worrying about the abuser? You are trying to forget and get past that point in your life. You want to be able to move on. You want to be able to heal. So in order to do that, you must cut all ties with your abuser. And I know it's very hard if you have children. That's why I say you may need to get to the point where you have someone that will drop off the children and pick up the children on their visitation until you are healing and can do so without it affecting you. So does anybody have any questions out there for me? I would love your interaction. Tell me if you're getting any good points out of this. So this is my conversation for this evening. And the reason that I decided to share it with you is because lately there's been so much on narcissism, and a lot of it happens to be trauma bond. Are they one and the same? No, they are not. They can be similar, but they are not. And I'll never forget when I was going through abuse, how I used to get those same exact comments that used to say, why didn't you leave? Or why do you stay? And I couldn't explain to you why. In my situation, I was underage. I was very young. My parents were showing me tough love. So I didn't feel that I could go back to them and ask them because I was so young. All of my friends were also very young. So I couldn't go to any of my friends. No one had a place. We were all young living with our parents. So I felt like I was between a rock and a hard place. I felt that I had nowhere to go, nobody to talk to. And I was convinced in my mind that everyone knew that I was being abused, and I felt so ashamed. It was only until later on, and as a matter of fact, only until a couple of weeks ago, that I took a road trip with my parents, that my mom was in utter disbelief when I told her about my abuse. She said she never knew. And then I had to like really rack my brain thinking, did I never share what I was going through with my parents? They knew about one incident. And I realized I automatically assumed that everyone knew what I had been through, that everyone knew I was being abused constantly. I was going to school. I didn't miss school. I continued to go to regular school. And I'd walk down the hallways and wonder if people were talking about me, if they knew that I was getting abused. And that shame used to consume me. And then I had a reunion with my friends from middle school, who were also my friends from freshman year in high school. And they didn't even know that I had had a child. So never mind being abused. So these are the things that work through a victim's mind. Are they talking about us? Do they know I'm being abused? I'm so ashamed. They're probably wondering, why I can't leave. Why can't you leave? I don't have anywhere to go. Well, go to your parents. My parents are playing tough love. So that was my situation. Now, I had no money. I couldn't work. I was underage. So what was I to do? So these are things that go through my mind, through other victims' minds. How will I survive? How will I feed my children? How, where do I get a job? How do I pay for a place to live for my child? How do I feed my child? So when you say to someone, just leave, trust me, these thoughts have been going through their head over and over. But somehow they can't. They don't know where to turn. Once again, be kind. Let them know you're there for them. No judgment, no criticism. And ask them, if things get really bad, let's work out an emergency plan. Or use the knock. And remember the symbol of I need help. If you see anyone, it means they're in danger. Help me. Dial 911. Nowadays, it's very dangerous. When I was being abused and I felt they were strangling me to death, I had a neighbor come bang on the door with a baseball bat and confront the abuser and say, "You think you're such a man? Fight me." You can't do that nowadays. Unfortunately, it's very dangerous. But if you have a well written out plan, look at how many women have called for pizza to get 911 there. So work out a plan with your friend, with your family member, with someone that you know is being abused and you feel the need to help, work out that plan. Thank you for taking the time out to spend with us. Once again, if you found and value the conversation, remember to like, share, and subscribe. And as always, never forget how amazing you are. Never forget how much you are loved. And never, ever, ever forget how exceptional you are. Ajusta tu corona and keep it moving. Have a great night, everybody. Thank you for joining me.